So before I present to you the agenda of today's session, I will let our colleague join and explain to you how you can activate simultaneous translation in case you would like to follow this session in another language. So John, please, you can explain.
Yes, welcome to this webinar. In this chat, you will see two links. One is for the interpretation link for viewers who join us from the web, and the other one is the interpretation link for viewers who join us from mobile. So if you click on the web link, and I will add this explanation later also in the chat, if you click on the link, you will see a screen with an option for audio and an option for captions. If you click on audio or if you click on captions, you will see that there are that you can choose from interpretation in Dutch, English, French, and Portuguese. If you click on audio, you will hear an audio translation. If you click on caption, you will receive a text on screen that is translated based on what people in this webinar are saying. I would recommend using captions, but if you use audio, you need to mute the speaker in. You need to mute the webinar so you don't have two feeds at the same time that you listen to. If you have captions, you can just listen to the webinar and see the captions translate what the speakers are saying. If you have any further questions about this, you can ask them in the chat. We have also our interpreters from Interprefy who can provide technical support if needed. I will also write now this explanation in the chat. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, John. So during today's session, next slide, please. So during today's session, we are going to provide to you an overview of the Circular City Center initiative, the C3 initiative, if you are not yet familiar with it. So in a second time, the newly published guidance document on circular consumption in city, which is now available on the C3 page, will be presented to you. This session will be followed by a series of examples of circular consumption initiatives that are illustrating what circular consumption means in practice. So you will discover 3 initiatives organized in the city of Amsterdam, the Access Economy initiative, as well as the Retuna shopping mall in the city of Eskilstuna in Sweden. And finally, we will offer you a preview of the e-learning tool, which are in the making, that you will be able to access shortly on our C3 page. So to accompany us today, we have, I'm very pleased to introduce the panel of guest speakers who are highly knowledgeable on the circular economy consumption in city and are going to present their knowledge, experience, and valuable insights. So maybe you already know Jordi Pascual-Toner, who leads the city program at the Circular Economy Foundation. Tamara Iskandar is also working at the Circular Economy Foundation. She's partnership and engagement strategist. We also have Danka Osterhoff, who is Senior Strategic Advisor on Circular Economy for the City of Amsterdam. Sami Angstelm is also with us. He leads the Circular and Sharing Economy team at DAX. We also have Christina Bichat, who is Director of the Sustainable Development and Environment at Eskilstuna Municipality in Sweden. And finally, we have two other colleagues from the European Investment Bank. So Maria Blanco Herbosa, who is an environmental specialist at the bank working on infrastructure projects and specialized in circular economy. And we also have Jonas Bierström, who actually is the engineer, the mastermind behind the Circular City initiative. So he's an engineer at the EIB, also specialized in circular economy. So as we are going to have break from time to time for Q&A session, please do not hesitate to ask your question already in the chat, because we are going to go over them and have Q&A session to further discuss with you the topic that are going to be presented today. So as we have a busy morning ahead of us, without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Maria Blanco Herbosa, who is going to present to you the C3 initiative. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. So yeah, let's go for the presentation of C3, a brief presentation and recap. Let me see why. There's one. Now. So what is the Circular City Center, C3, and what do we offer to EU cities? Recognizing the important role of cities in the circular economy transition, the European Investment Bank established the Circular City Center, C3 in short, which is a competence and a resource center supporting EU cities in the transition to a circular economy. During 2022 and 2023, with the support of the European Investment Advisory Hub, we developed and tested the C3 during the pilot phase in cooperation with Circular Economy. From 2024 and until 2027, C3 continues under the financing from the European Commission, from DG Research and Innovation, and is part of it's within the framework of the Commission's Circular Cities and Regions Initiative, and is developed and delivered with external support from a consortium comprising Circular Economy, Arup, ICLEI, and ECORIS. Important to mention is that all C3 services are provided free of charge to municipalities and other public promoters acting on their behalf. How the C3 support is offered? C3 offers a wealth of materials for learning about circularity, all available in our C3 webpage that we encourage you to check and learn more. We provide guidance documents. Up to date, we have provided 4 of them, the 15 circular steps for cities, a catalog of circular cities actions and solutions, a guide for developing a circular city strategy, and a guide for circularity in the urban built environment. And today, we are delighted to launch and present for the first time the 5th guidance document, which focus on the circular consumption in cities. We also have e-learning tools. We'll learn more about this later, and inspiring case studies and more. You can also learn from other cities and circular economy experts through the webinars and roundtables that we organize, and other events in which we take part actively, as we understand networking and cooperation is key in the circular economy landscape. Very importantly, we have the C3 offers free advice and support to cities through 2 different advisory programs, the Circular City Advisory, CCA, and the Circular Projects Advisory, CPA. Next slide. Yeah, and here a very brief overview of the 2 programs and how they, a comparison between them. Regarding the structure or the concept of the program, CCA follows a workshop structure. It consists of a series of 4 workshops of 2 hours each over 4 to 6 months, and provides capacity building elements. Preparatory work and homework is required between workshops and before them. In contrast, the CPA program offers more extensive advisory. It is tailored, detailed, and adjusted to the specific needs of the project. The aim of the CCA is to support cities and that having a different stage in their circular transition. That's why we have 3 programs. CCA1, which aims to support the city developing a circular strategy. CCA2, which focus more on the definition of a circular projects pipeline on a specific sector. And finally, CCA3, the more advanced, where the city already has a strategy and a pipeline, and then the aim is to work with the city to develop circular projects over funding and financing and implementation. while CPA is, as I said, more tailored and aims to support public sector promoters develop relatively large and mature projects towards financing and implementation. And here we're talking of a minimum ticket of 20 million euros. The level of support is also logically different. As already mentioned, CPA focus more on a co-creation, customized solutions, where the C3 experts engage with the city team, and a strong engagement is required, while the CPA supports in a more flexible and detailed way. The scope is in line with the project needs, and it depends, amount of support depends on the project scope, size, needs, and circular ambitions. It can be up to 100 person days. And very important to mention here is that the city can follow consecutive programs, so could start with the CCA1 and then do a CCA2, or start with a CCO2 and then move to a CPA. So that's important to keep in mind. And with this, how to apply? It's very easy. You just need to fill in the expression of interest. Here you have the links. The links are also in the web page. Additional detailed information is in the web page. You share it with us, send it to us, to our email. We analyze it and come back to you. We have an open call until the 28th of February, so we encourage you to take a look and send us an expression of interest. Even if you cannot make it to the 28th of February, we encourage you to send it to us. And I leave you with these two QR links that will take you to the expression of interest, and you will be able to find there more information about the advisory programs. We encourage you to check our C3 webpage, where all the resources are available, and also our LinkedIn account for the news and how we progress in this circular journey. And with this, I give the floor back to Audrey and Jordi.
Audrey,
you're muted.
Yes, indeed. So thank you very much, Maria, for this comprehensive presentation. So Jordi, you are leading the city program at the Circular Economy and overseeing a team dedicated to advancing circular urban transition. And currently, you are leading the consortium behind the Circular City Center initiative. So please, can you present to us this new guidance document that is being published today on circular consumption in cities?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Audrey, and thank you, Maria. And before even doing that, just mentioning that the applications that Maria was referring to for the CCA or CPA are very quick. It's a 10 minutes application, 20 minutes. So don't be afraid of a very long application. That being said, let's move to the guidance document. That is one of the reasons why we are here today. And as Maria said, is the 5th guidance document, and I'm very pleased to be presenting it to you, or at least giving some highlights of what we have been developing. And this guidance document focuses on circular consumption in cities, which is many times overseen. And it's aimed to be a guidance document that is very practical, that gives you tools, that gives you the right information to make decisions in your city. Just a short overview of the structure of the guidance document, what you will find when you download it. A short introduction, then defining what is circular consumption, what are the principles and approaches. Then a very important point, which is redefining the urban space to facilitate and to enhance circular consumption. Then what are the challenges that you probably are already facing when trying to move towards circular consumption or decreasing consumption overall? Then in the 5th section, the role that you can play as a city in promoting circular consumption. What tools do you have to make it a reality? And then some conclusions and recommendations on how to move forward. But then the question, why cities? I have asked this question to myself many times, and you probably know these figures very well, right? Cities occupy less than 3% of the Earth's surface, but represent over 50% of global population, 80% of global GDP. They consume 2/3 of global energy and also 70% of global resources. But even more, it is projected that by 2050, the population in cities will be 68% globally. But if we look at the European level, that is our focus in this program, today it's 72% of the people live in urban areas, so it's way higher than the global average, and it is projected to be 83% by 2050. So this really shows how cities are really the hotspot of consumption, and we in this guidance document are tackling this topic directly. So what does circular consumption actually mean? In this guidance document, we have structured it around the 9R framework, which I'm sure that most of you know and are familiar with. And moreover, we have structured it in 3 different phases of the consumption act, of the consumption development. On the left side, you see the acquisition, right? Which is the place where prevention of overconsumption needs to happen. So here we are talking about refusing, rethinking, and reducing consumption. Then if we would move to the middle, this consumption phase is the usage, when you already are using a product or even a service. And here what we are looking for is extending the lifespan of this product, of this material, maintaining the value of this. And here we are talking about strategies such as reusing, repairing, refurbishing, remanufacturing, and repurposing materials. And finally, we have the end of life, which is the last resort. And here we're talking about recycling and recovering. And recovering we have added to the 9R framework to make it as comprehensive as possible. And here you can see there are descriptions of each strategy and examples, case studies that can really show you how these work in reality. And in the report, in the guidance document, you can see more information about it. But then the question I ask myself is, what would the benefits of using this framework and these different strategies to inform your policy making? So we finally define them in 7 different benefits that in the guidance document you can see them more developed, and you can see the reasoning behind it. And the 7 are as follows. The first one is the integration of circular economy with broader sustainability goals, right? If we talk about biodiversity loss and other environmental impacts, these are many times driven by consumption. So if circular economy is always a means to an end, and you can actually tackle other sustainability goals via circular consumption in this case. Secondly, enhanced quality of life and well-being. Thirdly, value and affordability by different types of consumption business models, more efficiency, that actually are reducing costs, but also, it's connected to well-being. Less is more, right? In this sense. On the 4th place, safer and more livable spaces, right? A more efficient mobility system can reduce the number of cars and can make space for other type of land use and public space usage that is more beneficial for citizens. Then community development, employment opportunities, and finally, localized and resilient economies, which is a very important element connected to the circular economy. But it's not only about benefits. What are the challenges that you are probably facing and will face when moving towards this? Because adopting a circular consumption practice at the individual level really requires overcoming deeply ingrained habits and perceptions, because there are knowledge gaps, cultural norms favoring linear consumption, high cost of circular products, perceived inconvenience and attachment to ownership and newness. And we developed these concepts in the guidance document, but you are all probably quite familiar with them. You probably have relatives, friends that really don't believe in it because they have these barriers that are stopping them from making better decisions for themselves, but also for others. So here, it's needed systemic changes, clearer communication, improved accessibility to these type of products and materials to overcome these challenges and barriers at the individual level. But also the challenges are at a systemic level, right? Because it's not only about the individuals, but also about the system they are all operating in. And here we are looking at structural changes that are needed to address inconsistent policies and regulations, inadequate infrastructure, misaligned economic incentives, resistance from businesses, and the need for cultural transformation toward circular practices, toward circular consumption. And here I want to stop 1 second, and I'm opening the floor to you as well. If you think there are any other challenges and barriers that we did not cover and that you're maybe facing in your city or you individually to make circular consumption. And I'm just pausing here for a second in case you want to share those in the chat and share those with us, with the rest of people listening and watching. And I may come back to this once after a few slides.
Yes.
Well,
and sorry, just to be mindful of the time, so we just have a couple of minutes left because we might start be running over time. So just for you to know, Jordi.
Yeah, thanks, Audrey. Then I just leave the question to you, and you can just respond to it later on during the webinar. So, what system should be redefined to provide the space for circular consumption? Here, you can see in the guidance document the visual on the right side with a bit more detail. But we need to reimagine retail and shopping streets. We need local food markets and packaging-free supermarkets. We need facilities for sharing solutions, lively second-hand markets and warehouses, repair and reuse centers. We need community gardens and urban agriculture, education and circular craft centers, and co-living and co-working spaces. And this is everything. This is our vision of a city that is enabling circular consumption. But how can you, as a policymaker, as a person that works in a city, actually influence, incentivize this to happen? And we have developed and defined the tools that you can use in order to get there. And the tools are as follows. The first one, if you move to the next slide. Well, the first one indeed is the foster cultural and behavioral change in people and businesses, right? And here, again, we have examples. We have the associated R strategies that relate to it. So you will see that more clearly in the guidance document. But here we talk about community events, education, being open about information and data so that everyone is on the same page and you can make informed decisions, research and skills development. Then a second tool that you can use and that you have at your it's urban planning to facilitate access to circular consumption options. And here, site planning, urban farms and green spaces, develop lesser known sites and areas. And I believe there's a slide before this one, which actually refers to zoning regulations, land use planning, and permitting. And we can go in more depth into these topics at a later stage. And then the third tool that you have, if you go to the next slide, are financial support and fiscal incentives that you are very well aware of. Grants and subsidies, investment funds, task breaks and credits, charges and tariffs, then the very well-known public procurement, then public, private, and public civil partnerships. And I really like the examples in the guidance document that can really inspire you, because many times we have a barrier, like, how do I do that? How do I use this to really enforce or enhance the right or a sustainable way of consuming, a circular way of consuming, there are very good examples that can inspire you, and even you can get in touch with those cities. And then the last tool that we defined refers to regulatory measures to support circular consumption. And here we focus on bans and restrictions, policy advocacy, and benchmark and standards. Here I ask a question that I think we don't have time for it, but are there other examples or case studies that you can think of? Please share them with us in the chat, and we will be super happy to receive them and also learn from your experiences. So just to close this presentation about the guidance document, I want to finish it with the key points that we extracted from this process of thinking about this topic and learning from experts on how to really embrace circular consumption. So the steps that you can take: raise awareness and build capacity, leverage urban planning instruments that can really make a big systemic change in your city, set the right local incentives. Economic incentives are very important. Adopt targeted regulatory measures, advocate for promoting and enabling circular consumption policies at higher levels of governance, at the regional level, at the country level, and then monitor and evaluate the work that you're doing. So with that, I will just say that in the programs that Maria presented, we can help you in implementing circular consumption in your city via the Circular City Advisory programs, or in a more targeted way via the CPA, the Circular Program Assistance. And I see some barriers that have been shared here. The overload of cheap products like fast fashion, rebound effects can undermine climate and material benefits. I fully agree. And I invite you to carry on with these examples because these are very complementary. So with that, Audrey, I pass it on back to you. And sorry if I spend a few minutes more.
Oh, no, thank you very much, Jordi. It's very interesting to have this comprehensive overview of this new document. So I think we don't have time for the Q&A session right now, but let's see if later on we can come back to it. So now we are going to go through very interesting example of that illustrate how city can play a role in circular consumption. So we will start with a series of example initiatives, more than example, implemented by the city of Amsterdam. So Danka, you are an experienced sustainability professional with a strong focus on circular economy initiative. You are currently working with the city of Amsterdam and are actively involved in program promoting circular business model. So can you tell us more about those initiatives implemented in the city?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm just sharing my screen so you can just let me know when you can see it, because...
Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
Very good, very good. So thanks for joining the session today, and thanks for inviting me. My name is Danka Oosterhoff. I work for the city of Amsterdam for the last 2 years now. And before that, I have a background in consulting. But no further ado, I will hit the presentation to sort of time box myself. I will take you through a little bit of our journey, and I will highlight 3 examples. So we've started working far beyond myself joining the municipality. In 2015, it started working towards a strategy, also focusing on the opportunity for jobs and security, working together with Circular Economy. And now we are in our second sort of execution program. And you see that all the way, it's not even on this slide yet. And in 2026, new re-elections will be there. And that's also an opportunity for us to create a new strategy. So this is an example of a sort of summary of our program. On the right, you see the execution program, and this is sort of the way we are organized. The more vertical lines are the 3 value chains that we focus on. So bio-based construction, food and organic waste streams, and consumer goods. And then the 2 red horizontals are the target group that we work or collaborate most with, which are businesses and societal initiatives, so more external towards us, but also the second one is our internal focus, really much on procurement, but also other key roles within the municipality, because in 2026, everyone working at the municipality should know how to do their work in a circular way. And then the more thinner lines, horizontal lines, are sort of the themes that cross through all the different programs. And of course, then we have the program management. I will not go into that. But I've highlighted 3 topics today. 1 is measuring our material flows. 2, the behavioral campaigns that we do for our citizens. And the final one, the chain financing. These are sort of positioned here. So the first more on insights and monitoring all across the 3 value chains. The communication on behavior is really on the intersection between our behavioral programs and our consumer good value chain. And the last one is really on the sort of the financing instruments and how to change the financial system to help entrepreneurs in Amsterdam to really get their circular business models, product as a service business models, to get them financeable without the risks that are perceived by the financial sector. So generally, we try to make our decisions based on sort of this formula on the volume, but also on the impact per kilo, and finally on the influence that we have. The first 2 I will tell a bit about today, but the final one is our platform Circulo. Feel free to have a look on the website. We try to make sense out of the opportunities that are in our current legal system to nudge circularity. So the first a couple of years back, we started with looking at the volumes. How much volume of what type of material and in which value chain does that fall we have in the city. But now we have made the shift towards also the impact per kilo. And most recently, we also look at the social cost. First, we look mostly at the ecological cost, and not only the ecological cost in the city, but also in the entire chain. So basically the entire world. And when we do that, we see that, if we really want to not damage the earth, let's put it simple, we will need to pay way more for our materials. And the reason why we create these insights is really to nudge and convince our political leaders that it is very much necessary to not only focus on reducing CO2 emissions or other negative externalities like ecological or social in the city, but that most of it is actually outside of the city. And this kind of insights help us with that. This is an overview if you look from all the hidden costs, so social and ecological, per value chain. And you see that food just, jumps out. And in all the charts, food really jumps out. And the funny thing is that we have so many measures in place to focus on our energy transition, CO2 reduction, etc. But very little still on what kind of food we consume. And I think that there's a major challenge there, major opportunity and challenge. Then our key takeaways, and I'm going a bit fast through it because otherwise I will not make it in time. Our key takeaways from this monitor is that it's nice to do top-down monitoring, but when we want to track our policy effects, we really need more detail and less uncertainty is needed. We should avoid the tunnel vision on kilos and CO2 and include the broad environmental and social impacts. And we see the circular economy as the business case for sustainability. So with circular economy policies, we can really reduce externalities across the board. Then the second one are behavioral campaigns that we do for, that we aim on citizens, aimed at the consumption of stuff. Well, we measured the ecological footprint of Amsterdam residents. We did that in collaboration with, you see it on the left, it's Babette Porcelein. She created a sort of impact tool. She also wrote now 3 books, and they're very nicely written for everyone to understand. And we've asked 100 of our panel members to fill in this test. And what we've seen is that the most impact is in stuff, as you can see in the top. This is a collection of all kinds of stuff, but if you would zoom in there a bit, there's one insight which is quite funny, and that's women spend a little bit more on textiles, and their impact on textiles is higher, and men spend more on electronic gadgets, and with that, the impact of men is a little bit higher than than the textile impact. And then funny, the people from Amsterdam fly a lot, way more than average in the Netherlands. But on the other hand, we eat a little bit less meat, making our impact a little less, but still not enough. We still need like 3 Earths to maintain, which is of course not within the planetary boundaries. Well, from these insights, we work on campaigns that are visible in the city. And the last one was the Green Friday check. What we didn't want to do was point the finger at people to not do that, to not buy or to feel guilty, but really focus on, okay, if you feel like buying something during Black Friday, ask yourself a couple of questions. And those questions we called the Green Friday check. So mostly, do I really need it? Am I still happy with this? Can I buy it secondhand or refurbished? Can I also loan it? And can I repair what I already have? There was also a website where people could also find secondhand shops, places where they could share and loan and ideas and everything. Very soon, we also have a webinar on this. It's in Dutch, but if there's lots of interest, we can always think about doing an English version. And insights from our monitoring of different groups in Amsterdam, because we've seen that people with a double average income have also the biggest environmental impact. So we try to sort of crunch this data and really tailor our campaigns to the right target audiences. And in the last year, we had a Wear for Life campaign. We had a pop-up of all kinds of sustainable textiles in the most busy shopping street in Amsterdam. And we will continue this in the new year. And then the last one, this is about changing the financial system and the way the financial system invests in companies. And we became a partner of the coalition Circular Financing, Kopgroep Circulair Financieren. On the right, you see all the members that are in this coalition. And we asked things from each other, and I don't want to go through all this list, but maybe good to see the last one. On both sides, we need to use our procurement power way more. So that's what I wanted to say here. And then we have the program Amsterdam Circular. We use one of the instruments from the coalition of chain financing. And that's the instrument called SISE, the Circular Service Platform. They're sort of a legal participation agreement. You can call them the custodian. And they work with chain orchestrators. That's the party that is offering the product as a service model to the end consumer. And together with their chain partners, so their the suppliers and etc., they will form a legal frame. And in this way, we can promote product lifetime value over customer lifetime value. And we can already see the change that we create in such a way are 40% cheaper than the linear change. So I think this is really, the wheel make circular business model actually work. And every half year, we work together with 10 founders. And the last cohort was on food waste and organics. And currently we're collecting build founders. So in the build industry, we're doing you can sign up until the 28th of February. And then we will work with these founders to get them ready to be chain financed. And I think that was it. If you want to get in touch, then please do so. If you have ideas, collaboration opportunities, anything, then you know where to find me. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much, Danka. We are running a little bit behind schedule, but still one question. So how does this different initiative influence policy decision in Amsterdam? Do you already see concrete action being taken, or is maybe a dialogue taking place to start with?
Yeah, so in Amsterdam, the circular economy is a policy decision already. So we have a strategy, we have a budget of 17 million that we can spend. So it is definitely high on the agenda of our political leaders. But they also need to convince their other colleagues, for example, when it concerns building houses. And this, dilemmas need a lot of new houses, but please build them with bio-based materials, insulate with bio-based materials. This kind of dilemmas you see, and that's why we need to help our political leader, who is responsible for our circular economy agenda. We need to fill them with lots of reasons to continue with this. And also, indeed, I've seen it in the chat as well. The link to the job opportunities is massive. We've not done enough for that, so that's also really a point of attention, really the education and the labor market.
Thank you very much. This is really interesting because indeed the nexus between circular economy and housing is key. So let's follow up on those topics. Okay, thank you very much, Danka.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are going to move to Sami. So Sami, you lead the circular and sharing economy team at BACT, which is driving innovation in sustainable access economy solution. So can you present to us the Access Economy initiative?
Sure, thank you very much. I'll share my screen as well, and I'll ask you if you can as well see it. Now that should be working. Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and thank you to the organizers of the webinar for inviting me. Like it was said before, my name is Sami Youngstelm, and I'm calling you today from Barcelona. And during this presentation, I'll try to give you an introduction to why we need to develop the access economy within cities, and zoom in later a little bit more into a specific innovation that is growing in Europe that we call the sharing station. So first thing first, and it was presented before in this webinar, you're all familiar with the Ways hierarchy pyramid or the 9R strategies. And in our team, when discussing with dozens of cities and analyzing circular economy strategies from cities, we have realized that a lot of the focus was going into, let's say, the bottom part of the pyramid, which is obviously extremely important, but limited effort actually went into rethinking the way we actually interact with products in our cities. And this is really what we're trying to do within my team and with our partners, is to work and use the sharing and the access economy as a way to rethink how we as citizens actually consume and interact with products. So we believe in a system where we need to move from ownership to usership. No, there's still a large amount of consumer good that we as individuals, including myself, and I'm sure a lot of people in the call as well, we keep on accumulating a lot of things at homes that we use very little. The drill being the ultimate best examples, that is being used very little. And I think we should start as well considering this as an invisible problem and see storage as a form of waste, right? There's tons of things that we've just gotten to be used to accumulate and own at home that we use very little, no? And there's a huge disconnection between what we own and how long we actually use it. I like to make a bit the comparison of this to the transportation sectors, where cities have developed such transformation, where most people today use public transports, use shared mobility, but somehow with consumer goods, this is a bit the forgotten element, and we're still very individualistic in the way that we interact with consumer goods. And if we look at it at the size of a city, that's where I like to call it a huge invisible challenge, right? I like the little image on the left because it shows you how storage in all the different apartments at the size of a city actually becomes a huge invisible problem, right? And we believe that it's important to move from what we like to call a vicious consumption cycle, where we purchase a lot of low quality goods that will end up in storage and break rapidly, to a sustainable consumption cycle where we produce robust products that are made for sharing and access, that are accessible for different sharing and rental points in the city, and that can be easily repaired and reused in different circular services, whether going back into access and sharing systems or going to other circular services, whether it's second-hand markets or others. And so to do that, we need to develop this access economy within our cities, which is composed of a lot of different stakeholders and players, and has a lot of benefits. We've talked about it, the environmental benefit, obviously, with the idea of reducing the amount of goods that we produce and increasing their quality and their repairability. But it also has a lot of other social and economic advantages for citizens, whether it's making economic savings for households, or even saving space in our living areas, but also just increasing the livability and the access to activities within our city. So we need to look at this entire spectrum, and when we want to implement and analyze the access economy. And the good news is that people are ready for this, and they're asking for such service. No, every time we talk to people about such services, they all say that it makes so much sense. So I think the user acceptability is really growing. The main issue now is that these services, what I like to call these access services, are not yet sufficiently available in our cities. They don't always have the best user experience, and they're not visible and known enough by citizens in cities. And that's really where I think cities can have a big impact on this. And so we need to develop an ecosystem of solutions. So that's a bit the idea that I want to share with you today. The access economy in cities tomorrow will be formed by a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different services. Think about libraries of things, usually runs by NGOs, where you can find all kinds of different goods. Think about peer-to-peer, where through apps and websites, you have different individuals that can connect and share things that they own at home. But we'll also see a big transformation of retailers that used to only do linear business models and just sell things, that start to actually also rent out different things. But today I would like to zoom in a little bit more on a new innovative solution that is growing in our cities, that will be part of this ecosystem of this access economy, which is the sharing station. The sharing station is quite similar to bike sharing systems, but it's for goods. So through connected lockers, people access goods for a few hours or a few days. They can also reserve those items in advance in some of the cases. And once they've finished it, they can return it directly to the locker. The goods are actually owned by an operator, by a company or another third party, who takes care of both the maintenance, the repairing of the goods and so on, but also the customer service in case the users have any problems during the rental. And we see that these sharing stations are being deployed now in a lot of different use cases across the city, whether it's in indoor environments or outdoor environments. And we can talk about two kinds of categories of those stations. Some are, for example, the multi-purpose sharing stations. So we typically find them in libraries or in residential buildings, also in grocery stores, where users actually find all kinds of items, household appliances, tools, and so on. And we also see other kinds of sharing stations, for example, the outdoor ones which are thematic. For example, sports sharing stations are growing in cities now, where imagine going to a basketball playground and you will have a locker there where you can access directly the different balls and equipments that you need directly on the premise, on the playground. So we see those lockers, those sharing stations, as a new infrastructure for the city and for the access economy, which really has an interesting add-on to the whole ecosystem we have, because they have a great user experience, or have a reliability, are open usually 24/7. So it's definitely a new, let's say, ingredient in the entire world of the sharing economy that will make it more acceptable and more available. Very quickly, we did a study recently as part of the Interreg digital kiosk project, where we analyzed the current state of the sharing stations in Europe, and you see that it is growing, and there's been a lot of deployments over the years of those sharing stations, and this keeps on continuing. So I think it is really interesting for cities to understand and embrace this new innovation, and see how you can integrate it within your cities. Very briefly, we see 3 different ways in which those sharing stations are being deployed in cities for 3 different kinds of partnership. The first one is seeing the sharing station as a public service. So, for example, London has been deploying more than 20 different sharing stations within its public libraries by subsidizing and financing the installation of those stations, and in some cases, the operations. We see also these stations being deployed through a lot of different partnerships with housing associations, private retailers, but also grocery stores, in offices as well. And so we see, for example, a known proximity grocery chain in Paris called Franprix that is developing those stations within their grocery stores. And finally, we see one last way of deploying those stations, which is through, let's say, NGOs and community projects. For example, all the NGOs running libraries of things nowadays that are just usually runs on volunteering and so on, are also integrating this technology in those stations as part of their operations to make their services more available. I'll let you 30 seconds here in case you quickly want to grab your phone to take to flash those QR codes, so you can find more information about this on a recent study that we published here on the left. And we also have a knowledge hub that we coordinate, where you have a lot of information about all those new startups and a few case studies on the sharing stations that might be useful to you. And I will finish on this last slide. I think it is important. I would really like to reemphasize that the sharing stations is one solution, part of a bigger ecosystem, right? And so if we really want to move towards more sharing and access, we need we need cities to facilitate the deployments of all of those kinds of services, because they all bring a different value to the ecosystems. They all have pros and cons, but all together, that's actually where the entire user experience of the access economy becomes really good. So it's really important to look at it from a network point of view, an ecosystem point of view, and try to understand how you can develop as many, what I like to call, access points within a city. And another thing that is really important is making the entire ecosystem more visible, promoting it and making visible this ecosystem of solutions to the residents. And I will finish on that. Thank you very much for listening to me. And in case you want to reach out or discuss, I will stay here for some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sami, for this very inspiring initiative. Again, we want to convey a lot of information in a very short time, but maybe one question, because you were saying that people are ready for this, and this type of initiative is tackling what you frame as this huge invisible problem, which is a very good way to put it in perspective. So maybe one question that for the audience, what have been the biggest logistical and technological challenges in implementing and maintaining those kiosks?
So if we look at the kiosk, I think it's still relatively new. I think that's really important to mention. And the operators of those kiosks are also discovering how to best operate a fleet of goods. I think that's a bit as well like a new stakeholder that is emerging here, a bit like what we've seen 6 years ago with the e-scooters and the bike sharing operators. So all those startups and companies are trying to understand how to make operations more efficient, and it starts with having the right products is definitely an issue. How do you make sure that you have the right products that are easily repairable, intuitive as well for the end users to use? Because usually you have a lot of problems with those goods because people do not know how to use certain goods, and so you need more repair. How much of customer service do you actually need to provide? So I think the more we can make, let's say, operations less expensive and leaner, the better it will be for the operations. And it's both at, let's say, the goods that we put in those kiosks, so looking at this, but also how operations are being done. So it's a lot of predictive maintenance as well as and other kinds of operations that needs to become more and more professionalized. But yeah, I think we're so much at the beginning that I think operations will become more and more efficient in the future.
Thank you very much. We really look forward to hearing more about this initiative. So now we are going to move to the Retuna shopping mall in Sweden. So Christina, you are the Director of Sustainable Development and Environment at Eskilstuna Municipality in Sweden. So please, can you present to us this experience with the Retuna shopping mall?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
Will try to, as everyone else, try to share and to see. Oh, it started in the end. This is, I will have to start again. Sorry. It's good to start at the beginning. What do you see now? Nothing?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, then I will.
Otherwise, maybe you can rewind.
No, but I can do it. It was just me.
We will have a preview of the conclusion.
Exactly. So.
Yes, we are getting there.
But that is not. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm.
Yeah.
No, it's not the. Sorry, I have to try once more. I was so prepared, but not now.
No, the technical
it's like that.
Yeah, maybe next time we need to centralize the presentation.
No, I sent it, but I don't understand here. I have it.
Do we have it somewhere? So we can. Yeah,
but
you can share it.
Oh, you can. Okay, thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, thank you. Very good.
Thank you very much, Samara.
Perfect. So I want to tell you about the Retuna's recycling mall, and this is like the first mall for recycled goods in the world. We even came into the Guinness World Book of Records, something like that. It's situated in the municipality of Eskilstuna, which is about 100 kilometers west of Stockholm. And we will celebrate 10 years of this mall now in August 2025. And here you see the entrance, and also the director of the mall. He is there behind all the cameras, but he is ill today, so therefore I am instead of him. But I've been working with this since the start, so I know quite a lot about it. So next picture. I want to start to tell you about how it works, because I think this is one of the reasons why this mall, in fact, functions so well. It's that it's situated very close, as you see on the map to the right, where the we call it recycling center, where you go with all the waste or the stuff that you want to give away. So when you come into on the road there, and then you can go by car or by bike up to what's it called, Returen. And there we have personnel that helps you to take, there you can leave all the stuff that can be reused and upcycled, or that you don't want to throw into the big bins. And after you have let that, so it's very easy. So after you let that, you go up on the ramp and then you leave all the plastic and wood, etc., etc. And then you drive down, and of course I see that many stops there and go into Retuna shopping mall and buy some new stuff instead. But what I think makes this very good is that it's so simple to leave. You go there and you can leave everything at the same place, which is very good. So next slide. So the Retuna shopping mall, when we started it, we decided that it has to be nice. It has to look really welcoming and modern, not just in fact, when we started to discuss this, I was very afraid that it would be a large second-hand shop with all these tables and so on. But we wanted it to be really nice for the shop owners, because the idea is that we have shop owners that they take the things that come in there. They have different focuses, these shops, and I will tell you more about that. And they take that stuff up to their shop and then they sell it. So it's sort of a circling within this shopping mall. So when you come in, you see this beautiful tree, and then you have 2 floors with shops. So we can take the next picture. So the inside Retuna, we have 16 shops with different focuses. One focus on IT. We have children clothes, bike shop, furniture, clothes. One shop that is focusing on white things. So they have white furniture and everything white. People love it. I think that is one of the most popular shops, but that's their focus. And as you see on the picture here on the right, we have the first IKEA second-hand shop in the world that started here. And they have, in the beginning, so they take back what people leave, that the IKEA stuff that they have bought, they leave here and it comes back. And they also refurbish some of the furniture, and they learn a lot. They use this as a test bed for how does their, IKEA, it's a bit buy and then throw away, but they have seen that their stuff really can be reused very many times. And I was at a presentation where they discussed this, and someone in the audience said, well, I think that's a clever idea. You sell all your stuff twice, at least twice, because they only sell their own stuff. So that's a good idea about this. We also have a folk high school, I think that's the right name, that's called Recycle Design. And they also use all the materials that come into this mall. Cirkulären, it's for teachers to get free stuff for their school or preschool, for children stuff to play with, or to learn how to use second-hand materials. We have restaurant, we have conference facilities, we have a makerspace where you can mend things or develop things. And we also now, it has been introduced a bi-weekly online auction as well, because they get more stuff if is left and they can sell, especially clothes. So it has developed a lot, and I want to say that when I went back and looked at the political decision when we wanted to start this, we said we want to do this to reduce waste. But actually, it has been a place where we have created a lot of jobs, because these companies, they started to be here. We have also created a travel destination. We have visitors from all over the world to see this, and for all over Sweden, of course, and from ambassadors come here and everywhere. So it's been, for the tourist sector, quite a big thing too. And we can go to the next slide. And we continue to develop Retuna, and we have introduced reuse of building materials. And that, as you have understood, I didn't say that, but this is only for private citizens to leave stuff there. So it's not for companies to leave things at Retuna. And so the building materials left are from people that have something, you see doors here on the picture, that they can't use, they leave it, and then they are sold by this Beijer Byggmaterial, building material company that we cooperate with. And we are starting now for a year to see how it works, and we will hopefully develop that more. And there are a lot of people that wants to start shops here, so we try to get more room. It's a very big, the mall is situated in a very big building, but it's used for other things, but we try to get more room in. So it has been an exciting 10 years, and it has developed in a way that I don't think anyone who was there from the beginning could imagine how it would be. In fact, so it's been 10 fun years, and it will continue. That's me.
Thank you very much, Christina. So indeed, it's very interesting to see how a political decision to reduce waste has actually a spillover effect on other areas of the economy, because you mentioned the unexpected but positive effect were job creation, but also increase tourism, actually. So maybe this is a nice transition to our panel discussion, which is going to be shorter than initially planned, but maybe one question to a guest speaker that I think echoes also the question that we see in the chat, because thank you very much, you have been quite active. So what are the biggest financial and behavioral barriers to scaling circular initiative? And also, how can government, business, and consumer collaborate to overcome them? Because we see questions about the role of government, the business model, the sustainability of it, etc. So it will be very useful. So I don't know, maybe Christina, do you want to start with this question?
Yes, and in fact, it hasn't been a very big investment. It was in the beginning, I think, as a total, 2 million euros that we both invested in the development of the mall, and also into the building of it to reduce the rents for the shop owners a bit. And then we put in some money the first 2 years to get it going. But since then, the costs, we don't have we don't ask them to make a profit. It's just zero is okay. But then so it's the rents that the shop owners pay for it that covers the cost.
Very good, very good. I don't know if Sami, Danka, you want to add to this question?
Well,
yeah, the ownership you asked. I can. It's owned by the waste management, our own waste management company, and they run the mall. And then the shop owners rent from the waste management company.
Okay.
thank you.
And maybe, yes. Yeah, you wanted to intervene? No? Okay.
Well, in Amsterdam, we really struggle with the lack of physical space. Lots of people are coming towards the city, so land is extremely expensive, and it's only increasing. And we have certain of these points in Amsterdam already, open areas, but without a building. And if you want to keep them accessible for people in Amsterdam within a specific amount of time that you arrive there, you need to wrap them, actually. You need to put them in a building, which of course makes the initial investment way higher. So that are now the challenges that we are facing to still create this sort of ecosystem, around the core responsibility of the municipality to collect, the waste from people, but to do that in a very dense city fabric with very high prices.
We don't have the same problem because we are not
Yeah.
so dense, and but I understand exactly what you mean, because also, I mean, this is situated 3 kilometers from the city center, for example. There is a bus coming there, but it's quite car dependent, for example.
Yeah.
You can go there by bike too, but it takes a while. So now, but because so now we are thinking of, can we create a Retuna 2 in the city, and but then it's costs for the transport, because that is one of the things with this that I think is makes it possible to do it, is that there are no transport. It's just going up a level. So going into the city and you have to pay for transports, then it becomes more difficult. So that's our luck here, I think.
Yeah, but looks very good. Very
welcome.
Yeah.
And we already saw with the example of the Access Economy initiative that people were ready for this kind of different mode of consumption. So, but more generally, what strategy you think have proven to be most effective in engaging the public and shifting their mindset from ownership to reusing and repairing goods? It's a difficult one.
Maybe I'm happy to give it a go. I think one thing that I'm seeing more and more at national level or at city level is I think one of the case study you presented as part of the C3 with the Smarta Kartan in Sweden, where making visible all those different circular services through maps or different mobile applications and so on, for people to just know exactly and easily where to go when they have this need to repair or they have this need to access, right? And that's typically the first problem that you see, is people don't have the information. They're not aware that there's maybe a library of things 50 meters from where they live or a repair shop very close, and they're not really acquainted to those services. So I think what I was mentioning before about making this entire ecosystem visible and getting people to get used to it, I think is really something that cities have an interesting role to play in.
No, indeed. Yeah, this is a dimension that we really need to explore going forward, especially now that we are in a digital world. So I think maybe if there are questions from the audience that we can pick, otherwise we can go to our next session. So maybe Tamara, can you present to us the e-learning tool, which is in the making, and that the participants are going to be able to access shortly on the C3 web page?
Yes, indeed. Hi, everyone. So yeah, my name is Tamara. In the past few months, we have been working on an e-learning tool, as Audrey mentioned, to help basically anyone who is interested with having the sufficient knowledge and tools to implement and advocate for circular economy principles and also practices within their own urban environments. We will be launching in total 5 e-learning tools, 5 e-learning tracks, inspired from existing guidance documents, but also future ones that are currently in the making. These guidance documents are also available on our C3 webpage if you are interested. And you can also try out a demo of our e-learning tool in the QR code on the screen. Now, this first track that we're currently developing is designed from our previous guidance documents on 15 circular steps for cities, and also a guide for developing a circular city strategy. And the aim of this first track is kind of the introduction to everything, providing guidance on the planning, implementation, and also monitoring of circular transition of within the city sphere, and how a Circle City strategy can help you support this transition. So maybe you can also click the scan the QR code, but I can also show you a quick glimpse of what it might look like. There will be multiple functions and interactive elements that you can play around with our new e-learning tool, which is coming very soon. But I will, just go ahead and play you a quick sneak peek. All right, now, so with this, please look forward to the launch of the official e-learning tool and the 5 tracks that are coming out. On the right, again, there's the QR code if you would like to try out the demo. Once the actual e-learning track is published, then you will also be notified for these tracks, and you can actually start on your circular economy learning journey. And keep updated on any developments of the C3 program. With this, I'll give it back to Audrey.
Thank you very much, Tamara, for this sneak preview, a very fast preview of what the e-learning module will look like. It looks very nice, so we look forward to be able to play with them and learn more. So maybe now I will hand over to Jordi to try to summarize this very packed session. And unfortunately, we had to rush for some of the presentations. So hopefully you will be able to access all the material that were presented today, but also more on the C3 webpage. So we will come back to that. But maybe, Jordi, if you want to try to summarize what we've been discussing today.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Audrey, and thank you everyone, all the speakers and Tamara, everyone involved in the preparation of this webinar. I'm actually very happy because this is the first webinar of this year and the first webinar of this new phase of the Circular City Center, and where we have actually discussed one of the key points of the circular economy, right? Because it's the consumption phase, and where we are really needing to move towards the upper side of the 9 R's hierarchy, right? And stop only talking about recycling, but actually moving up to the avoiding the consumption to happen and being smarter about it, right? And we have seen this with the accessibility examples and with Retuna and the other examples. And I believe that what I take out of this is that many of the tools are already there with cities, and very concrete ones, and you can find them in the guidance document. Then there are questions about space, right? And I think Danka was mentioning it, right? And I've been also in some conversations about Amsterdam and the problem of space, and if you need to reuse materials in the city, where do you store them? And these are the type of questions that we really need to address to go towards circular consumption, right? And we have the tools, and in each context we will face different challenges, right? Because in the case of Retuna and other cities and places, maybe the space is not so much the issue, but it's rather other circumstances that are stopping this transition. So it's also very important to contextualize it to the different realities. And then in the end, just by saying that if the tools are there, the only part missing is probably wanting to transition toward this different type of consumption and this different way of looking at resources and how we consume them at the different levels, at an individual level, but also business level, public sector level. And I think, for instance, in Amsterdam, but in many other European cities, I'm seeing very, very promising ideas and initiatives that are really going in that direction. And also Barcelona, where I'm from, in terms of the land use of different neighborhoods in the city, they are being very innovative to really give space to initiatives that perhaps don't have the financial resources to compete with other commercial entities that would actually just continue with the linear economy. So these are the different elements that we need to play with, and I think the guidance document is the perfect first step for cities that are interested in really moving towards that, and you can find a lot of practical information about it. So again, thank you very much to everyone that has participated and that has been listening, and really looking forward to more to come. So if you have any comments or questions, please reach out to us. And over to you, Audrey.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Jordi, for this very good summary. So maybe to conclude, so again, we want to reiterate that we have a dedicated page to the Circular City Center initiative, where you can find all these guidance documents, so the letters that we have been presenting to you today, but we have more coming. So for instance, we are working on 2 additional guidance documents. One is on urban development, so the link between circular economy and urban planning, but also how to tackle circular economy in procurement. So this is a sneak preview on the topic we are working on. As Tamara showed you, there will be soon the e-learning modules that you can use, play with, and learn more. But also, we are going to organize more of those webinars as well as person events. So please do consult regularly this page. You have the link in the chat and on the slide, because to keep you informed of the and what we are working on in this initiative. So thank you again for your participation. It was a very packed agenda. So next time we will have more time for opening the floor to Q&A session, because we see that you were really active in the chat. So we want to give you the opportunity to interact more with our speaker. So thank you again, and see you soon.